check, sir.
Yeah, it is because I see a lot of people there over YouTube. So guys,
So now is it?
okay. I can tell you one thing, that this wait would be worth it because the session that is going to happen, it has never happened before. All right. Cool. I think we are live now. Ladies and gentlemen, we would be getting started with the class now. And with a very simple, uh, on a very simple note, rather, first I would introduce myself so that you know. My name is Mohammad, and I'm one of the senior IELTS trainers here at LeapScholar, right? Just in the last month, I delivered like 217 results. And out of those 217 students, I have invited one of the students today, right? I would be talking more about him. Stay tuned, like maybe just 2-3 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I have got authorization from University of Cambridge, England, to teach English all over the world. And guys, the session that we have today, I tell you the achievement, the feat that this student has achieved, okay? It is not a piece of cake, right? This student whom I am going to invite today, right? His name is Dipayan, right? He got 9 band in reading. 9 band in reading means 100 on 100 in reading. And he is the one who was able to solve it in like 45 minutes, whole reading passage. And I tell you, when he got back, he messaged me after his exam that I finished my reading in 45 minutes, including loo break, Mohammed sir. I was like, what? And when I got when he shared his result with me, he got 9 on 9 in reading. Okay, 9 on 9 in reading. Can you imagine that? A person with that much confidence who finished whole reading test in 45 minutes, just in 45 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, only in 45 minutes, and he got 9 on 9 in reading, right? I am a very proud teacher, right? I'm a very proud teacher. He studied in one of my batches. And today this is happening for the first time in the history of Leap Scholar, in the history of all the IELTS channels that are available. Okay. We as Leap Scholar, we believe in giving opportunity, confidence to our student. So yes, I have requested Dipayan to join us, right? And he was kind enough to join. And guys, I would be inviting him, and he would be sharing the tips and tricks live, and he would be solving a passage with all of you. And here is the man of the hour, right? Guys, let's make some noise in the chat box for our very own Dipayan. Welcome, Dipayan.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
All right, guys, here is Dipayan, ladies and gentlemen. He achieved this marvelous feat. Not many can do that, right? Not many can do that, right? And here is he, ladies and gentlemen. He's yes, it's impossible, right, to solve reading in 40-45 minutes. And he was kind enough, right? I can't tell you how humble, down to earth he is. He spent couple of hours in making a PPT just for all of you, right? So that all of you can be benefited, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you must have seen teachers teaching, right? But this handsome guy here, right, this knowledgeable, ingenious guy here, he spent some time making the PPT. And guys, he would be teaching, guiding, right? And I tell you, right, I have his result also in front of me. I don't really have to look at the result. He got overall 8 bands in reading, right? Overall 8 bands in IELTS exam, right? I tell you, overall 8 bands, guys, is a feat that not many can achieve. Okay, it's very difficult. He got 9 in reading. I think you got maybe one wrong in listening, Dipayan,
Yes,
right?
I actually missed something in listening at the very first section of listening. So I
Amazing.
had to just randomly put something in there and it got wrong.
All
I got
right.
an 8.5 in listening, that's why.
8.5 in listening. Ladies and gentlemen, today Dipayan is going to teach you. But yes, all the strategies that Dipayan used, he would be walking you through this. Dipayan, there were certain questions that students were asking me. I want to ask you all those questions.
Sure.
What was your mindset before IELTS exam?
So before the IELTS exam, I gave the computer-based exam. So we have to sit in the waiting room for about 30 minutes. So I was just taking deep breaths and somewhat meditating. So I was just in a state of mind that I don't have to think anything about the exam. I just have to calm myself down so I can just walk into the exam motivated and calm, and I can just give it with a quiet mind.
All right. How long did you prepare for this IELTS exam?
I think I started preparing when I joined the LeapScholar classes. So that would be around 3 months before the exam, 2.5 to 3 months.
2.5 to 3 months. How many hours did you practice every day on an average in terms of different modules?
So I did not actually start practicing every day at the beginning, but as the exam came nearer, I started panicking a little.
All
And
right.
then I think I spent an hour every day listening on listening to mock listening tests for IELTS on YouTube, and I also read some mock papers. I practiced everything from mock papers of IELTS
All right.
and the YouTube channels that provide such things, such as the IELTS Sleep Scholar YouTube channel. I referred that channel quite a lot, especially your videos.
All right. I mean, Dipayan, I want to understand one thing. Students, they panic a lot before their IELTS exam. They think that
Yes.
this is kind of big deal.
Mhm.
What was your mindset? How did you get this kind of confidence that after your exam, you messaged me that, Mohammed sir, I finished it in 45 minutes, including loo break. And then you got 9 in reading. What is the secret behind this confidence?
Personally speaking, I was quite fearful about the speaking part, and I even sent you a doubts about what to do if I don't know the topic that the examiner gives me. So I came to a realization a few days before the exam that the IELTS exam tests your English skills, your vocabulary, and how your grammar, pronunciation, everything that's mentioned. So it's not a test about your knowledge. It's not a test about anything else. And that realization made me confident in all the four sections. Earlier, I was unconfident of what if I get a topic in reading which I have not ever read about, or what if I have to listen to something which I don't know about. But it's not a test about that. So that's where the confidence came from.
All right. Yeah. Dipayan, amazing insight. What are the things, like maybe three things out of your experience, apart from teaching, that you're going to do, you would want students to take care of? Because I know coming from a student to student, it's a different scenario. What are three things you want the students to take care of to get the desired band?
Well, first of all, uh, the first thing I did was I went to my test center a couple days before the exam. So you don't want to be late for your IELTS exam at all because there's a lot of procedures. I gave the computer-based test, so I had to go in there, get myself registered. They take a picture of you, they take your fingerprints. There's a lot of things to do. So if possible, you should visit the test center before a few days before the exam. Second thing which I missed to do, but I had planned to do it, but I missed it, is eat something before the exam. I
Hmm.
had a chocolate on me, but I forgot to eat it, and I got a little hungry in between the exam. So that is something which is quite distracting, especially for me.
All right.
So eat something before the exam and hydrate,
All
and
right.
also take a loo break before the exam as well.
All right. Because it lasts for 2 hours,
It lasts
45
for,
minutes.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the 2 hours and 45 minutes continuously, and plus 15 to 20 minutes for your biometrics and everything. So 3 hours.
Guys, take care of all these things. And ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I would request the Dipayan, right, who got complete 9 in reading. He was able to solve it in 45 minutes, the complete reading. All right. And this is, as I said, this is happening first time in the history of all IELTS YouTube channel that a student made a PPT and he would be coming in, right, and he would be walking you through all the tips and tricks that he followed to get full marks in IELTS reading. Dipayan, the stage is all yours. Zoom is all
Okay.
yours. Go ahead.
I'll
It's
just
all
share
yours.
my I'll just share my screen.
All right.
Just tell me if it's visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so I'll start briefly with about me. So I'm Dipayan Chaudhary, and I'm currently a final year computer engineering student. So I'm not very old. I'm just 21 years old, and I got an IELTS band of 8 with a perfect 9 in reading, and I also got an 8.5 in listening. So I'll just start with the tips because I know you guys are here for that. And without further delays, so some of the tips which really helped me is, like I talked about, it's okay not, especially in reading, it's okay not to understand the meaning of every single word, because in reading there are three passages which increase in difficulty. So it's quite possible that when you are reading the third passage, there are some words which you do not know the meaning of. But the thing to keep in mind is that don't get stuck on a few words. Just guess the meaning based on the context of the passage. Just read the lines before it and after it and just guess an approximate meaning. Most probably the word is put there to just distract you or just confuse you, and you don't have to actually pay that much attention to it. And the second tip is to read all the questions carefully. During the my practice, I can't tell you how many times I forgot to read what the question really asked for, because it mentions, right, that you have to fill in the blanks with two words, or you have to fill in the blanks with one number. So if you don't read it carefully, you might end up giving the right answer in the wrong format, and you would get a 0 mark for that. So that's not worth it. So just read it carefully and pay attention to time, and keep at least 5 to 10 minutes reserved at the end for revision. This is really important. As you know, Mohammed sir told you that I completed my exam in 45 minutes, and I used the 15 minutes to revise my paper, the reading section. And I found out that while giving my exam, I had made a couple spelling mistakes in the fill in the blanks parts, and I had also marked an answer wrong by mistake. I knew the correct answer, but I clicked on the wrong option by mistake. So stuff like this happens quite a lot, more than you would imagine. There's an exam pressure. You have some nervousness. It is inevitable. So you just have to keep the at least 5 minutes at the end to just go through your paper once again and just make sure that everything is all right, because you would really feel bad that you knew the answer and yet you couldn't uh, get the marks that you deserve. And so you have to pay attention to time. In the computer based exam, there's a timer on the top right, so you can just keep note of that timer and just look at it from time to time to know how much time is left. Okay, so this one is important. If you already know about the topic the passage is going to talk about, you have to ignore everything you know, and you have to pay attention to only what is written, because the questions that the passage asks, the questions in IELTS reading, all the answers to the questions are there in the passage. They don't want you to assume anything, they don't want any extra information. And let us assume this doesn't happen, but let us assume there's some wrong information entirely in the IELTS passage. But in that moment, you have to believe that that is the right information. So you have to ignore everything you know and just pay attention to what's written, nothing extra. And don't leave any questions unanswered, of course, because there is no negative marking. So even if you're unsure about an answer and the time has run out, don't leave anything unanswered. You might just get the get it right. And like I mentioned earlier, you have to do a mandatory spelling check in the fill in the blank section, because I did that and I had like two of my questions which had wrong spellings. Because you type in fast, you are nervous. It's it happens. It happens to all of us. But to combat that, you have to do a mandatory spelling check. I actually spell check. Just make sure that you check the spelling from the passage, even if you know the word. I checked every spelling, even for simple words. I checked the spelling from the passage. Am I writing the right spelling? Because that was the amount I did not. That was the amount of distrust I had in myself at that point. And if you're having a if you're having a trouble with any question, if you're struggling with any question, just mark it for review. Or if you are giving the paper-based exam, just mark it on your question paper, and just move on to the next question. You can always come back to your questions later. There is no rule that you have to answer it chronologically. You can come back to the question later, and chances are more often than not, when you have answered the questions after your doubt question, and when you come back to it, it is going to be easier, because now you know where in the passage the answer is. If you don't know about this thing in reading, the answer to the questions are, you can find it one after the other in the passage. So for example, if the answers to the first few questions are in the first paragraph, the answer to the next set of questions will be in the second paragraph. They are almost never jumbled up. So if you have a doubt with any question, you can just skip it and come back to it later, and you will have the added advantage of knowing where exactly the answer is. So coming to my experience, I finished the reading section in 40 to 45 minutes. And this is something which I noticed during my practice test, mock tests. In IELTS reading test, they would suggest or recommend you to give 20 minutes to each section. But I thought that doesn't really make sense, does it? Because section A is supposed to be quite easy, and section C is supposed to be harder, and section B is supposed to be of moderate difficulty. So why would I spend equal time in all three of them? So I think this is something which a lot of people end up doing, that they think that we have to give equal time to all the sections, and they end up giving 20 minutes to the first section, and then they have a time crunch in the second and third sections. So I completed my section A within 10 minutes, and I was not even trying to complete it fast. I just answered all the questions. I checked the time, and it happened in 10 minutes. And you don't have to recheck for spellings at this point of time. You just have to answer everything. So I just answered everything. Section A was done in 10 minutes. Maximum it will take you is 15 minutes. Honestly, section A is quite easy. It has simple English in the passage. There is not much tricky questions. At least in my exam, there were no tricky questions in section A. So it was done in 10 minutes. And then I moved on to section B and C, which took me 15 minutes each. And after that, 5 minutes, I went to the bathroom because I needed to go. And I knew that if I did not go, then I would have problems in the next section, which was writing. Because you should not give an give an exam when you have to go to the bathroom. So I use the 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. And you have to keep in mind that if you want to take a bathroom break, your exam time is not paused. The exam time will keep going. So you have to make it quick. And in the computer based exam, I don't know about paper based, but in the computer based exam, I had to give my biometric first, that I'm leaving the room. Then I went to the bathroom and did my job. And then when I came back, I had to give my biometrics again, that I'm back in the room. So the entire process took a solid 5 minutes. So only do it if you are confident that you have that amount of time. So I did that, and I spent the next 10 to 15 minutes doing a revision and spell check. And I revised it again and again. Even after my initial revision, I had fixed all the spelling mistakes. I revised it again and found that I still had to fix one spelling mistake. The exam panic does this to you. So make sure to revise at least 2 times. If you can spare 5 minutes, 2 times revision is not a big deal. 5 minutes, 2 times revision in 5 minutes is quite easy. And uh, sparing 5 minutes for revision is also quite easy if you complete the section A in 10 to 15 minutes, because then you have quite a lot of time for section B and C. And these were the types of questions I had in my exam. If you have studied about IELTS and if you know about the types of questions, you know that there are quite a lot of types of questions which can come for the exam. But if you don't have any idea about it, you can just do a simple Google search and you will find all the types of questions. So the types of questions I got were these. There was a question about matching headings in passage 2, and true, false, not given, yes, no, not given. These two separate types of questions are there. Even though these are quite close, the true, false, not given, and yes, no, not given, there are some subtle differences in them. But I had two different questions. One was true, false, not given, and the other was yes, no, not given. And I also had MCQs, and then I had a few sentence completions. So the sentence completion questions are the one where I made some spelling mistakes. So pay attention to your spellings. And coming to strategies, there are quite a lot of strategies which you can use. You can find them on the internet. They might be taught to you in your IELTS coaching. For example, I was taught a lot of strategies by Mohammad sir and Atul sir during my IELTS coaching. So there are a lot of strategies. A lot of them are valid. A lot of them are also not good enough. You have to make sure that you only pay attention to the ones that have been taught to you from a valid source, such as your coaching or some proper YouTube channel. There are also some strategies on the LeapScholar channel, which I went through right before the exam. So now once you have these strategies, you should practice with them. There are a lot of different kinds of strategies. You should practice with a two different strategies or couple of strategies or at least 3 to 4 different strategies in your practice time before the exam, and see which works best for you. Anyone who says that one strategy fits everyone is really lying to you, because it depends on your personality, on your test taking behaviors, etc., which strategy will fit you, right? So you have to use all the strategies which you find, at least 3 or 4, and practice them and see how you can perform with those strategies. And also, practice exams are important because you have to find your weaknesses. A lot of students, like a few of my friends, what they do is they just practice full reading tests over and over again and again, and that is working hard but not smart. The smart way to go around it is find your weaknesses. Like, there are a lot of types of questions. Find what type of questions you are weak in and what type of questions you are almost always right in. For example, when I was practicing, I could see that sentence completion questions were always almost 100% right for me. So that was not my area of problem. But matching headings and true false not given questions were the types of questions which I got wrong a lot in my practice exams. So I knew that I have to pay attention to these types of questions. And I did not waste any time practicing for the sentence completion questions, and I paid attention to the yes, no, not true, false, not given, and the matching headings questions. So this needs to happen. You have to find your weaknesses first, and then you have to proceed with the practicing. So as I have written here, my weaknesses were true, false, not given, and the matching heading questions. So my strategy during the exam. So this is personal to me. This does
Uh,
not have to work for you. Yes.
Dipayan, before you
Yes.
start with the strategy, I see certain questions piled up here. Okay, students,
Yes.
they want to ask certain questions from you, because obviously you are doing it in an impeccable way. I really love it. I'm so proud of you. Right?
Thank
There
you.
are certain questions that they want to know. Did you write everything in small letters or capital letters? Did you
No,
use copy paste?
I don't think you can use copy paste. And I wrote everything in capital letters just to make it clear to the examiner.
All right.
You can actually, when you are writing in computer based exam, you can also write in lowercase because the computer checks it. But just to make it clear for myself, I just wrote it in capital letters.
So the
Also,
what?
adding on to this, just one more point, sir,
Yes, please.
that before the computer based exam starts, you have an option to select the font size. There's a small, a medium, and a large. So what I did is I selected the medium font, even though I could read everything properly in the small font, because when the font is medium or large, you can see everything clearly, the spellings and everything. So I did that. So that might be something which helps you.
Amazing. So, guys, the bottom line is it doesn't matter in reading. You are going to write everything in capital letters, right? In fact, in listening also. So, listening and reading everything in capital letters, ladies and gentlemen. Also, they are asking. You have been talking about. You figured out your weaknesses and everything. What mock test did you do?
I like I said, I had taken the LeapScholar classes. So when you enroll in a LeapScholar class, they provide you quite a lot of mock tests. So there was no, there was no a lot of mock tests to go through, and all of them were unique. I could not find them anywhere else on the internet. So I practiced the LeapScholar mock tests, and I also found some on the Google directly you can find, but the last year mock tests and all. But the LeapScholar ones were the ones which helped me the most.
All right. Amazing, guys. So yes, we would be giving you the path how the Dipayan is prepared, how the Dipayan joined Leap Scholar, right? We would be talking about it just in some time. Dipayan, there is another question that is coming. Did you have the time to highlight keywords? Did you use that option?
Yes, I did. This you can actually highlight easily at any point of the time. You don't get a separate time to highlight anything. You have to do it while your exam, 1 hour of your reading test is going on. So I can speak for the computer-based test. For highlighting, you just have to highlight it with your mouse and right click, and there's an option to either highlight it with a yellow color, or you can make note. So when you make note, a small box appears on side of the word or the statement which you have chosen, and you can write something in it. So the most important thing I used it for is I marked the paragraphs where the answer started. For example, the answer to first question was in first paragraph, second line. So I marked the beginning of second line and I made a note that the answer one is here. And so while I was revising, I did not have to go back again and again and find where the answers are.
That's a master tip, right, guys? This only comes from experience, and uh, I would not shy away from saying this, that in fact I have learned many things from you,
Thank
because
you.
you were teaching and I was learning, I was making notes. I have this pen and notepad in my hand, and I'm really happy. Also, the next question that is coming, Dipayan, is that did you have pen and paper also in your computer based test? Did you have it?
Yes, yes. They give you a sheet which has your login details, and in my center they said that you can use the backside of the sheet for writing anything, and you are given a pen, a pencil, and an eraser. So all that is provided.
All right, you don't have to carry anything, they
No,
provide you
they
everything.
won't allow you to carry anything inside. Even if you take everything with you, they will ask you to keep everything in the locker outside. You just have
Amazing.
to take your passport with you inside.
All right, take your passport, okay? Don't take
Yes.
anyone else's passport. That's another thing that we need to take care of. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would be giving it back again to Dipayan. He would be walking you through the strategies that he applied. As he said, if anyone is telling you that only this one strategy would work, that person is absolutely lying, okay? No, there is no one strategy that would 100% work, okay? But yes, he is telling you the amalgamation of strategies, a mixture of strategies, right, which you can use. He would be talking with his experience, from his experience, that strategies, and then yes, he would be solving a passage for you, the approach that he used. Over to you, Dipayan.
Thank you. Okay, so like I said, there are a lot of strategies. I took two of the strategies, which were like some people say that read the entire passage first, with skimming, scanning, and all those techniques, and then read the questions and answer them. And on the other hand, I also found quite a lot of people saying that you have to read the questions first, and then you have to read the passage. So I was quite confused what to do, because these are completely opposite strategies, and both work for some people. Some people think that reading the first passage first works for them better, and some people believe that reading the questions first works for them better. So I actually decided to merge both the strategies based on my strengths and weaknesses in the types of questions. So what I did was I read the questions first, except the match headings and true false not given questions. So I just went over the sentence completion questions, the multiple choice questions, everything except my weak areas. Uh, Not exactly my weak areas, but these areas specifically. I would tell you why I skipped match headings and true false not given specifically. I will tell you in a bit, but basically I omitted those questions and I read the all the questions, and then I went to the passage to find the answers. I omitted reading the match headings and the true false not given questions because while I was practicing, I have found this in my friends, in me. So this is probably not something which is just for me, but it might be troubling a lot of you as well. That when you read match headings questions and the true false not given questions first, you get confused, because in the matching headings there are if there are five paragraphs, they would provide you eight headings. So there are three headings which are useless, and in the true false and not given questions there is certainly at least one statement which is false and at least one statement which is not given. So if you read it first and then you read the passage, you will get confused, like what was this given? I read it but I cannot find it here. You will try to make correlations subconsciously between the false or the not given questions and the paragraph, and you might actually accidentally trick yourself into believing that that statement is actually true. So in my case, especially, this was happening a lot when I was practicing. So that's why I skipped over these two types of questions specifically. So uh, like this means that I did not answer the questions chronologically. I did the passages. Did all the three passages with the sentence completion questions, the MCQ questions, all those first. And while I was doing this, I read the question first. For example, let's say there was a sentence completion questions. I read the question first. I got a keyword. There, always look for keywords in your questions. Like if there is a name, if there is a date or a number, anything like that, just look at that and keep it in your mind and go back to your passage and just scan and skim over it. I'm sure a lot of you would know what skimming and scanning is if you are doing the Leap Scholar classes. If not, you can just do a simple Google search. It's quite simple how to scan a passage and how to skim a passage. Do that and find the keywords, highlight the keywords. uh, Believe me, you have to you want to highlight. Some of you might be confident that we won't highlight, we'll just go through it and find the answer, and that might save us time. But don't do that, because highlighting it would give you, like, would save a lot of time when you are revising. So highlight the keywords, find the answer, find the word or the phrase which you think is the answer, and write it in. And in this way, complete your MCQs, complete your sentence completions or note completions, whatever type of questions you have. And what happens after this is that once you are done with all these kinds of questions, you have read the passage pretty much, because you were finding the answers in the passage. So you had to skim and scan it, and you might have had to skim and scan it a paragraph 3 times or 4 times to find the answer. So at this point of time, you already know what you at least have a vague idea of what every paragraph has and what the entire passage talks about. So now, after this was done, now I went to the match headings questions and the true false not given questions. Because since I already had an idea of what the paragraphs and the passages contain, I pretty much knew what was true, what was false, and what was not given. And matching headings became quite simple as well, because I had an overall idea of all the paragraphs. So I could just put the headings there to the respective paragraphs. So I could not believe how quickly I solved these two types of questions with using this strategy. So that was what I did during my exam. So now that was a strategy, and now I will be doing solving an example passage with the questions. And there are a few, not they are not the all the three passages. I have not included that. I've just included one passage and a few questions to show you my strategy.
Uh,
Yeah,
Dipayan, before you go there, I have been getting lots of messages from students that
sure.
we need that link where they enrolled. Where is that link? They want to be a part of this course. They want to join it, right? So maybe I'll just take 2 minutes of your time.
Please do.
I'll just share something on the screen, right? And then you can solve this complete passage, right, with all of them. If I have your permission, Dipayan.
Sure. Please go
Right.
ahead.
All
It's for the
right.
benefit of the students.
All right. Yeah. Can I share my screen? You have to stop
Okay.
sharing it. Yeah. So, ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen, I have been getting many questions where from where Dipayan prepared and which course did he join. All right. So I would be bringing those the courses on the screen, right? And I think Dipayan would want Dipayan. Yes, I have presented it over the screen, right? Dipayan, if you want to say something, you want to talk about something, that the courses I have shared on the screen.
Okay, so I actually found the course on through Instagram. So I was searching a lot of IELTS material on Instagram, and one day I just got a link about a post about from Leap Scholar, and I just checked out the website, and then I went to a master class. They have free master classes which you can attend, and they are actually quite good. But for the full benefits of the training, you have to join a class. And I looked at the website, and I was quite in shock, because who provides IELTS training in 99 rupees? The one I attended was 4 weeks, so it was 139 rupees. And I was quite in shock, because I was looking for IELTS courses, and the cheapest I found was 10,000 rupees. And I was like, that's a big difference. And so I took a class with the first 2 weeks were taught by Atul sir, and the last 2 weeks were taught by Mohammad sir. And it was quite a good pleasant experience, and I did not expect that we would be getting these additional materials. They give you 14 Cambridge books. I did not even have the time to solve every one of them. They have grammar classes. If you are struggling with grammar, they provide free grammar classes like which are not a part of your usual classes, so they are pretty much like extra free classes. And then you have doubt solving classes, and you can contact like while I was taking the course, I could just send a message to Mohammed sir at any time, and he would reply. We even had a group where people would solve each other's questions, or Mohammed sir would solve our questions and doubts. And also, yes, the speaking sessions. There's the Leap Scholar app. I used it a couple times. I did not use it a lot for the speaking session, but you can talk to your peers 24/7. There are rooms for that, like speaking rooms. You can just ask some of your friends to join with you and practice for the speaking session. And speaking practice is quite essential, so you should definitely use that benefit. And also, they provide three speaking evaluations where they evaluate there's a certified teacher who evaluates how you are speaking, and they tell you your flaws. And so that's quite important, because like I said earlier, you have to know your mistakes and you have to improve them. You cannot just try to improve everything together. That's hard work, not smart work, and probably won't take you far. So you have to find your weaknesses and you have to improve on them. And there's also a certificate of completion, and certificates are always good.
Yeah, we provide certificate of completion. I think that I'm a proud teacher, right? Dipayan, he's able to articulate everything in an impeccable way, guys. You get certificate of completion, and as Dipayan was saying that, ladies and gentlemen, we provide exclusive Leap Scholars manual also, right? Apart from the Cambridge books that we have, right? And you don't have to spend thousands of rupees, as Dipan was talking about. The minimum price that he got over internet was 10,000 rupees. And ladies and gentlemen, these courses that I would be starting, they are going to start from 30th of November. Only limited seats are remaining, because the love that the students like Dipayan, they give me, my batches, they get filled really fast. One batch is going to start from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and the other one is 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. I'll be covering all the modules: listening, reading, writing, speaking, right? Everything in these 2 weeks courses, right? Mock test would be there every week. Speaking feedback, as Dipan was saying, you get free slots, right? You get writing evaluations also, right? And plus you have the recordings of all the sessions, ladies and gentlemen. And I would be writing down one magical thing over the screen, right? Take a look at it. Okay, yes, it is magical, because it is going to give you 20% discount. This is the promo code that you would be using. And ladies and gentlemen, I would be sharing the link in the chat box, okay, so that you can join this course, right? And you can also be benefited. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is in the chat box, the link, ladies and gentlemen, and use the code MDLife20. It will give you 20% discount. All right, here is the code written on the screen, MDLife20. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and as you are getting enrolled, write down done in the chat box. Do use the code MDLife20. It will help you get 20% discount. And today is the sale day, right? Black Friday sale is going on. And I think you're going to get it somewhere around 79 something something, right? There's a link in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen. Click on the link, okay? Choose any course that you want to. You can, okay, Kashyap is saying he enrolled in both the classes. Ladies and gentlemen, everything would be covered, okay? 30th November, I would be starting. Limited seats are remaining. All right. There's a link in the chat box. Go to these courses, enroll yourself, ladies and gentlemen. All those students who are there on YouTube live, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that you can just simply write down LeapScholar IELTS Plus course, right? LeapScholar IELTS Plus course. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but we decided to do it late night because the team is not available for now. We are doing it, and especially with the help of Dipayan, and it's really easy for me. So you can just Google LeapScholar IELTS Plus courses, and you would be able to get the you'd be able to go to the same place, ladies and gentlemen. Use the code MDLife20. It will give you 20% discount. Also, when you would be clicking on the link, there are different other batches of different other 16 educators which are there. You can enroll in any one of them. As Dipan was saying, he was a part of course in which first 2 weeks were taught by Atul sir. Right? So there are amazing educators at Leap Scholar. Guys, how many of you are done while I was blabbering? How many of you actually enrolled? Can you write down done in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen? Wow. Wow.
If I may, I would like to talk about my experience with your classes, because
Oh, sure. Sure. Definitely.
I took the class because, first of all, I when I was doing the master classes, it was taken by Atul sir, and I liked the way he taught. So then I saw that there's a class, 4 week class with Atul sir and someone named Mohammad Shees. So I thought, like, what's the loss? Like, I even checked the. I would like to tell everyone that every of the educator, they are highly qualified to be teaching you English. So I checked the qualifications and I thought that let's check it. It's just, even if it goes wrong, it's just 130 rupees. I can live with that. So I enrolled in the class, and for Mohammed sir specifically, I've thought of him like a big brother, because he is a young person, as you can see, and he really connects well with every student, not just with me. I was seeing even with my classmates, everyone was talking in the Zoom meeting like it was a event with friends. Like everyone was quite free, and he cracks jokes, and he has quite a nice sense of humor, and he is sarcastic a lot. So a lot of you like those kinds of people, and I think that Mohammed sir fits that sarcasm role quite well. And honestly, he was like a big brother, and he is still like a big brother to me. So if you would like that, I cannot speak for all the educators, but I'm sure everyone is quite like quite well for teaching the English for IELTS, because they have training specifically for teaching for IELTS. But speaking for Mohammed sir, just go for it if you can. Just there, like he said, there are only a few slots left, so try to be the lucky few who get into his class.
All right, guys. This is the love of the love coming from students like Dipayan is the thing that makes me what I am today. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not come in between Dipayan and you all now. Okay, here's a link in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm sharing MD Live 20 is the promo code that I have marked. Use it to get 20% discount, and I would leave you all and Dipayan alone so that he can solve a passage, maybe 5, 6 questions for all of you, right? Dipayan, this is amazing. I tell you, 170 students is still here, almost around 100 students on YouTube Live, and it's 11 p.m. I tell you. Okay.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would not come in between Dipayan. It's all you now.
Okay, so I hope my screen is visible. So this is a passage which I picked from a real IELTS exam. So as you can see, it's quite a lot of text. A lot of people, when they look at reading, they just get overwhelmed. A lot of text, we have to read so much. How will we manage time? So just don't read it first. Just go to the questions. So I included a few questions. I have not included all 40-ish questions. I have only included around 10. Okay. So the first 6 questions. So the questions on IELTS come like this. They give you in batches. So the first few questions will be of a certain type. The second few questions will be of a certain type. So here, read the question first, which I told you about. That read it carefully. It says that choose no more than 2 words, and you have to keep this in mind. You have to write 1 or 2 word in the fill in the blanks, the sentence completion. You cannot write 3 words. You cannot write numbers. If there is an answer that is a number, write it in words. Don't use the numerals. Write it in text. So this is the question. If I got this in the exam, what I would do is I would read this first. So I'll give you a couple seconds or a minute or half a minute to just go through it, go through the question. Okay, so while you go through the question, just pay attention to the keywords, because you will be using the keywords. For example, for question 1 and 2, there's a time mentioned, 11:39, and you keep that in mind, because spotting numbers in a passage is very easy. Because when you are looking for numbers amongst a chunk of text, you can quite easily find the numbers. So whenever you get numbers as key information, that is treat that as quite a kind of a blessing, because numbers are very easy to find. So 11:39 p.m. and from the action, I would take the keyword iceberg. And for the third question, the obvious keyword is a name. That's Andrews. It sounds like a last name, so I'll take that. And for the fourth, there's the Smith, and there's also Captain. So something to do with Captain and some person called Smith. And there's also a time for you. That's 12:15 a.m. So keep that in mind. For the fifth question, there's 2:17 a.m. The name is Bride and Phillips. And for the sixth question as well. And for the sixth question, keep in mind that something final was relayed. That when you read the questions for sentence completion, you get a sense of what kind of answer it can be, like relate final dash. So it is something, some sort of probably message, something, because they're talking about Titanic. So maybe they relayed a final warning for the people, or maybe they relayed a final message to the headquarters or something. So you get a general idea of what to look for in the passage. So now that we have read the questions, I'll go back to the passage and I'll show you how I found the answers. So for the first question, it says the person. So we have to find the name of the person first. In the first blank, it has to be someone's name, and you can see that the keyword we chose was iceberg. So I highlighted the iceberg keywords which I found in paragraph A and paragraph B, and I looked around the keyword to find the information. So in this line, which I have highlighted with yellow, it says that Fleet picked up the phone to the helm, waited for the sixth officer Moody to answer, and yelled, "Iceberg right ahead." And it says here in the action that a reported sighting of the iceberg. So when he yelled "iceberg right ahead," it's kind of a paraphrased way of saying that an iceberg was sighted. So he reported it to Officer Moody that the iceberg was sighted. So now I know this is the statement around where my answer is. So here the person who is doing it is someone known as Fleet. So Frederick Fleet, it can be seen at the beginning of the passage, someone known as Frederick Fleet, and I wrote Fleet. I didn't write Frederick Fleet. You could have written two words, but I didn't write Frederick Fleet because the all the other answers and all the other names in this list are just last names. So there is Andrews, there is Smith, there is Bride and Phillips. All of these are last names. So I made sure that I would write only Fleet because you have to follow the pattern which is there. So the first answer is Fleet. And the second answer is what was the position of the person. So you can see in the table that Andrews is the ship's designer, Smith is the ship's captain. So now we know the name of the person, it's Fleet. So what was the position of Fleet? So now you can go through the passage once again and find what the position was. So here in the very first line, it is said that Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee were the lookouts. So the answer would be lookout because we are talking about a single person, Fleet. So it is lookout. If we were talking about both Fleet and Lee, we would have written lookouts. So pay attention to the plurals and singulars because if you write lookouts here, it's the wrong answer. You have to write lookout. So the first two questions are done. Quite simply, you didn't have to read the entire passage for this. You just found the keywords. For the third answer, the keyword that we decided to select was Andrews because it's a name, quite easy to find. So here I have seen in the passage P, Andrews. By the way, the passage B here is repeated because I have attached different screenshots for the different questions. So the passages you see on the top and bottom are have the same bottom half. So it's not in continuation. Okay. So one thing to notice is that I directly went to passage B. I did not read passage A again. Why did I do that? Because since I found both the answers for the first and second question in passage A and the passage ended, so I know that the next answer is in the next passage and it's not before my first and second answer. It is almost always the case that the first answer is mentioned in the paragraph. After that, you will find the second answer. After that, the third answer, and so on. It won't be jumbled. So anyway, I highlighted Andrews. You can do this in your computer-based exam, and in your paper-based exam, you can underline with a pencil. So just highlight. You use the highlight tool a lot. I would suggest you to use it a lot and use it smartly because it really helps. So anyway, coming back to the question. So we highlighted Andrews. Now what we have to find is what Andrews did. What was the action? So he ordered something to be released. I'm sorry. I read the next one. So we have to find the time for Andrews. So he reported how long the Titanic could stay afloat, and he did it at some point of time. So we read the statement. So Thomas Andrews carried out visual inspection of the ship's damage and informed Captain Smith at midnight. So you found your answer because what did he do at midnight? That he told Captain Smith that the ship would sink in less than 2 hours. So he reported to Captain Smith that the ship would sink in less than 2 hours. So basically, that's a paraphrased way of saying that he reported to Captain Smith how long the Titanic would stay afloat. So your answer is midnight. Now, a lot of people will get confused here because the very next line says that by 12:30 a.m. the lifeboats were being filled with women and children and so on. So a lot of people, what they do is they see the 12:30 a.m. time and they might write 12:30 here, and that would obviously be the wrong answer, because the action that Andrews is doing here is he's reporting to someone how long the Titanic could stay afloat, and it's quite clearly visible that he did that at midnight. So I hope that's clear. So that is why you have to go through the statement a couple times after you have found the keyword. You have to read it and understand it properly, and then you find the answer. Okay, on to the fourth question. So we know that Captain Smith ordered something to be released. So you get a basic idea of what the answer might look like. So the keywords are Captain, Smith, and 12:15 a.m. So I just found Smith and I highlighted those. So in the second paragraph itself, it is mentioned. So in the very next line, in which we found the third answer in this line, and in the very next line we find the fourth answer. So this is quite lucky. So the lifeboats were being filled with women and children after Smith had given the command for them to be uncovered and swung out 15 minutes earlier. So you can see that ordered dash to be released. Now ordered is a synonym for command, and he commanded, basically what this statement means is that he ordered the lifeboats to be released. So the answer is lifeboats. And for the fifth and sixth, you have to find Bride and Phillips or 2:17 a.m. And I found Bride and Phillips in the paragraph C. And there were two names, Harold Bride and Jack Phillips. And the statement which includes that says that Harold Bride and Jack Phillips tapped out their last wireless message after being relieved of duty as the ship's wireless operators. So this statement mentions what they did and what was their position. So what they did was they tapped out the final wireless messages, and their position was the ship's wireless operators. So the question asks their position. So the position is wireless operators, and you would write operators with an S plural because we are talking about two people here, Bride and Phillips. If it was just Bride or just Phillips, you would have written wireless operator, singular. And action. So relate final dash, relate final wireless message. Relate final message also works, I think, in this question. And so that's all the sentence completion questions done. So now, once we have done all the sentence completion questions, we kind of know what the passage is talking about. It's talking about Titanic sinking. It's talking about the last moments before the Titanic sank. We know what paragraph A, B, and C are basically talking about. In paragraph A, there's a sighting of the iceberg, and then it's being reported. In paragraph B, they are talking about what the designer does, what the captain does, what decisions they make about the lifeboats. And in paragraph C, they are talking about the final messages and everything. So you have a basic idea of everything. So this will help you with doing the match the headings question in case you get. It's not necessary that you will get matching headings, but in case you do, you have to be prepared. So next, we will go to the next set of questions. And I'm sorry, this is yes, no. Okay, so there were 6 questions in the fill in the blanks, and now the 7 to 10 is true, false, and not given. So a lot of people have doubt here, like true, false is okay. Even I had this experience. True, false is fine. I can say what's true, what's false, but not given is the one which causes problems. So one key piece of information which really helped me is that in your set of questions, for example, you get 5 true, false, not given questions or 5 yes, no, not given questions. At least one of them is true, at least one of them is false, and at least one of them is not given. It almost like I have never seen a test paper where this happens, and so I can say that it almost never happens that all the questions are true, or like some are true, some are false, and none is not given. So there are at least one of each kind. Okay, so why this helps is, let's assume that you are solving the questions, and in case by chance it happens that there were 5 true, false, not given questions, you are able to solve the first 4, and it is true, true, false, false, and you are struggling with the last one. So you can just, without even looking at the question, you shouldn't not look at the question, you should confirm, but you can be almost 99% sure that the last one would be not given, because you did not mark not given earlier. But you shouldn't do this. You should read the question properly. So anyway, I'll do this now. So now that we have a brief overview of what the passage is about, we can do the true false not given questions. And even in the true false not given questions, you have to find keywords. Finding keywords is for every question, except the matching headings one. In matching headings, you have to understand a basic of what every paragraph is talking about and then give them the proper headings. Anyway, getting back to the true false not given, the seventh question says that the binoculars for the men on watch had been left in a crew locker in Southampton. So I selected binoculars as the keyword, and I read the statement which contained binoculars, the word binoculars. So it said, due to a last-minute change in the ship's officer lineup, iceberg lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee were making do with a pair of binoculars that an officer transferred off the ship in Southampton that had left in cupboard on board, unbeknownst to any of the ship's crew. So it says that they didn't have the binoculars, but someone had actually kept the binocular, and that someone was in Southampton, and they had left the binoculars in the cupboard, but the crew didn't know about it. Okay, so what was the statement? The statement was that the binoculars had been left in a crew locker. Now, here I find some discontinuity. Like here it says that it was it was left in a crew locker, but in the paragraph it says that it was left in a cupboard. So that's how we know that this is false, because in true false not given, these minor details will be changed for false for the false questions. Something minor, but something which is quite possibly a keyword would be changed. So they might have changed Southampton to some other place. They might have changed binoculars to something else. So you have to keep in mind for these things. You have to look out for these things. So in this question, they changed the cupboard to crew locker, so it's false. For the eighth question, it says that the missing binoculars were the major factor leading to the collision with the iceberg. So again, I looked at the paragraph about the binoculars. The collision collision with the iceberg. So collision is roughly synonymous to disaster in this context. So the Titanic colliding with the iceberg was the disaster. In general, it is not really a synonym. Collision is not really a synonym of disaster, but in this context, the disaster is Titanic colliding with the iceberg. So the statement with I found the word disaster while scanning, and I just highlighted that statement. So it says that Fleet, who survived the sinking, insisted at a subsequent inquiry that he could not have identified the iceberg in time to avert disaster. That he could have identified the iceberg in time to avert disaster if he had owned the binoculars. So basically, Fleet survived the sinking, and during an interview later, he told that in case he had a binocular, he would have averted the disaster. Maybe it was possible, maybe, probably, he could have averted it in case he had binoculars. So it's a thing that Fleet is saying that maybe I could have done it if I had the binoculars, but nowhere it's written that the missing binoculars was the major factor, like a really big, probably the leading factor, the major factor for the collision. It's not mentioned anywhere. It's just that Fleet feels that he could have averted it in case he had binoculars. So it's not given. So this might be quite confusing for a lot of you, because it says that Fleet says that he could have stopped the disaster. But if you believe in him, that yes, I believe that Fleet would have stopped the disaster if he had binoculars, then you are making assumptions. And that is something which you have to avoid 100% while doing reading. Do not make any assumptions. Like it is quite possible that Fleet would not have been able to save the collision from happening even if he had binoculars. It's just conjecture. So it's not clearly mentioned, so it's not given. In the not given questions, it is always something which is mentioned in the paragraph, but like it's not, the details are not in that much detail. So it's some detail about something in the paragraph which is not mentioned. You have to like look out for it and not get confused, because the passages will try to confuse you. If you get the true false not given in the final third passage, which is quite possible, I got the yes no not given. So you have to be in high alert for that, for the not given questions. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Captain Smith received information about ice in the area. So I looked for Captain Smith, and there was this statement. And again, reiterating this point, when you are looking for answer 9, you would not go behind, like you would not read whatever was written before answer 8, where you found answer 8. So I found answer 8 in this line of paragraph D, at Fleet who survived the sinking and so on. So I don't have to read above that for answer 9, because I can be almost certainly sure that answer 9 is below that. So below that, it says that nevertheless, Captain Smith had maintained the ship's speed of 22 knots despite multiple earlier warnings of ice ahead. So it says that Captain Smith had received warnings of ice ahead. So this means that he knew that he had received information. This is a paraphrasing, that despite multiple earlier warnings of ice ahead, received information about ice in the area. These are the same. These two sentences mean the same thing. So this is true. And finally, the last question: Howell believed the captain's failure to reduce speed was an irresponsible action. So I found the name Howell. So here it is, Richard Howell, and I wrote read the sentence, and it said that Richard Howell have. I just read the entire sentence. It has been suggested that Smith was under pressure to make headlines by arriving early in New York, but maritime historians such as Richard Howell have countered this perception, noting that Smith was simply following common procedure and not behaving recklessly. So the sentence said that Howell believed that the captain was being irresponsible, but it said that it is in the passage it's written that the Richard Howell, the historian, believes that he was not actually behaving recklessly, and it was common procedure. So it not behaving recklessly is synonymous to not being irresponsible. So it is false, because the question says that he was irresponsible, but Howell actually believes that he was just following procedure and he was not being reckless or not being irresponsible. So that was the two types of questions, and there are a lot of different types of questions. You have to practice all of them. It is not possible to teach all the types of questions here. We would have to go on well beyond midnight if I were to do that. So these are the two types of questions to show you how I thought and how I went through the exam, the real exam, and I hope it helped. So back to you, sir.
Guys, yes, if you liked our very own Dipayan, there is a link in the description, both for his LinkedIn as well as his Instagram, right? Click on those links, right? Shower some love, share the link also, right? He's been generous enough, right? He spent so much time in making the PPT, and now he's here delivering it, right? And I tell you, he hasn't charged anything, right? So I really appreciate this, right, ladies and gentlemen. This is how I want all of you to turn out to be in future, right? Helping each other get successful, because it takes a lot at heart, right? Because he came out, I know he has been working since morning, right? He works and he has some thing going on, right? What is that, hackathon?
Yes, I have some. I am also organizing a hackathon, and I'm also taking part in a
Yeah.
hackathon.
So his something is going on, right? I don't know technical terms, but he's been busy, right? He still came out, right? And he helped all of you, and I want this chain to be on, ladies and gentlemen. That's the basic principle that we follow at LeapScholar. We have this agenda that we want to make education affordable, right? And we want to educate masses, and for that very reason, ladies and gentlemen, I would be sharing again the two courses that I would be starting, right? And for that, I would need to share my screen, right?
Sure,
Yes.
I'll stop sharing.
All right. I would just bring
Yes.
those two courses on the screen again, ladies and gentlemen. I want you all to shower some love, okay? Some care, okay? And yes, here it is in the chat box. Use the code MD Live 20, ladies and gentlemen, and enroll in any one of the courses you want to. This is the promo code. It will give you additional 20% discount. Guys, the link to contact Dipayan is there in the YouTube Live's description. Okay, you can contact him, right? I am sure he would be kind enough. I absolutely adore him, ladies and gentlemen. And on this note, okay, yeah, in the group YouTube description, okay, please check it. There is a link, right? And I want all of your stories, WhatsApp stories, to be covered with the LeapScholar, right? I want you to share it, okay? Help us achieve the aim that we have. We want to educate masses, right? And we want to make it affordable. right, for all of you, and you look at the price, okay, just by using the code MDLife20 for 79 rupees, yes, you would be able to learn complete IELTS. How many of you are actually have actually purchased? I saw that many students, they have left by now. I got at least 25-30 duns in the chat box, that 30 students, they have at least enrolled. How many of you enrolled, all those students who are here? Can I know it in the chat box also? Amazing. And you've been getting so many messages, Dipayan. uh, mm, Great way of explaining, right?
Thank you.
And look in the chat box, so many students
Yes,
are saying,
a lot of messages.
all right, this is amazing, guys. And I tell you, this is in the history of LeapScholar for the very first time, and it is in the history of all the IELTS channel that our student came up with a PPT, right? Our student came up with the explanation. And yes, I tell you, I have also learned a lot of things from the Dipayan, ladies and gentlemen. We all have to turn into leaders. And yes, there's a link again in the chat box. You can enroll in the course, okay? And I would be seeing you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in. And at this hour of the day, 11:15 p.m., you all have been extremely patient. And yes, obviously, thanks to you, Dipayan, for joining
Thank
in.
you.
We would love to have you again very soon, because I
Sure.
can see that you are our rising stars. We see some fame here. I can see that at least 1,000 more people know you today. I'm sure you
Thank
are
you.
famous wherever you are, but at least 1,000 more people. Ladies and gentlemen, so Dipayan and I, we would be signing off now. It was great to have you all. Looking
Thanks.
forward to
Thanks
see.
to everyone for attending and listening to me talk about this for almost more than 1 hour. So thanks for that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take care. A very good night to all of you. Stay blessed. Thank you
Good
so
night.
much.